Hello students, I am Sai Baba here. So in my earlier classes, I have discussed mostly about the equations of motion for a rigid body performing pure rotational motion. And I have also shown you the comparison of the equations of motion. I mean, I have shown you the similarities. I have shown you the equations of motion for rigid body in pure rotational motion and analogous equations for rigid body in pure translatory motion. So now from this class onwards, so I am going to discuss the theory part for the combined translational and rotational motion of a rigid body. So I am going to discuss about the combined translational rotational motion of a rigid body, and later about the motion of a body rolling on a surface. So in this, before I discuss about that, first I would like to discuss a theorem which we call kinetic energy theorem. So you first concentrate only to listen to my explanation. Don't write running notes when I am giving the explanation. So I will be showing you the notes in a systematic way after my explanation is completed. So first I would like to discuss about the kinetic energy theorem. So first I would like to tell you the theorem first. So I would like to also give the mathematical proof or explanation for this theorem. So the kinetic energy of a system of particles with respect to an origin O of inertial frame of reference is given by kinetic energy of the system of the particles with respect to the center of mass of the system plus half capital M into VCM square. So if you consider an origin O of a fixed coordinate system means we mean fixed with respect to the laboratory frame of reference. As I discussed earlier in Newton's laws of motion, for all practical purposes, the laboratory frame of reference we consider it as inertial frame of reference. The laboratory frame of reference for all practical purposes considered as inertial frame of reference. So the kinetic system of particle with respect to origin of the inertial frame of reference can be written as KE_Cm plus half capital M into VCM square. Here KE subscript Cm represents the total kinetic energy system of the particle with respect to center of mass of the system. Capital M is the total mass of system. And VCM represents the magnitude of the translational velocity or linear velocity of the center of mass of system. So I would like to give you the proof for this conclusion. So of course proof may not be required for the objective type of examinations. You will not be asked to write the proof for objective type exam, but I still want to discuss the proof for keeping view of the subjective type examinations, or some students may have interest to know how this conclusion is arrived at. Unless they know how the conclusion is arrived at, they will not be convinced. So the proof is not very difficult, it is simple only. So let us consider the origin of fixed coordinate system. That means origin O is fixed with respect to laboratory frame of reference. So we can practically consider the laboratory frame of reference as inertial frame of reference. We consider a system of n particles with masses m1, m2, m3 and so on, or in general we write mi up to mn. So I varies from 1 to n. Let R1 bar, R2 bar, etc. R3 bar denote the position vectors of the individual particles with respect to the origin of the inertial frame of reference. Let Ra bar denote the position vector of the ith particle. Let Ra bar denote the position vector of the ith particle with respect to the origin of the fixed coordinate system. Then as you studied in the chapter center of mass, the position vector center of mass system of the particles is given by m1 r1 bar plus m2 r2 bar etc. up to m3 mn rn bar. Rn bar is the position vector of nth particle divided by sum of the mass of all the particles system. So let us consider the ith particle with mass mi. Let Ri bar denote the position vector of the ith particle, and P is the position of the capital P represents the position of the ith particle, and Ra bar is the position vector of the ith particle. Let C denote the center of mass, I mean position of center of mass system of the n particles at the particular instant. So let RCM bar denote the position vector of the center of mass, or simply R bar subscript C. Let R bar subscript C denote the position vector of the center of mass of system of the n particles. Then CP bar. That means if you change the origin of the coordinate system to the position of center of mass, then CP bar represents position vector of the particle situated at the point P with respect to center of mass of system of the origin. So denoted by R bar subscript IC. So R bar subscript IC represents the position vector of the ith particle with respect to center of mass of the system. Then we choose the center of mass of the system as origin. That means R bar subscript IC represent the position vector of center of mass, position vector of the ith particle in the center of mass reference frame. So again you see here in the figure, OP bar represents position vector of the ith particle with respect to the origin of the fixed coordinate system. OC bar represents the position vector of center of mass of system, denoted by R bar subscript C. R bar subscript CM or simply R bar subscript C. And CP bar gives you the position vector of the ith particle of mass Mi with respect to the center of mass of system, which is denoted by R bar subscript IC. Now from triangle law of vector addition, you can write from triangle law of vector addition, OC bar, OP bar can be written as OC bar plus CP bar. From triangle law of vector addition, you can write OP bar equal to OC bar plus CP bar. The head of the vector OC bar is attached to tail of vector CP bar. That means you can say that the two vectors OC bar and CP bar, they are in the same order. The tail of the vector OP bar is attached to tail of the first vector OC bar, and head of the vector OP bar is attached to the head of second vector CP bar. according to the triangle law of addition of vectors, if two vectors are represented graphically by the two sides of a triangle taken in the same order, and the vector represented by third side of the triangle taken in the reverse order represent their vector sum both in magnitude and direction. So OP bar represent position vector of the ith particle with respect to origin bow. OC bar represent position vector of center of mass with respect to the origin bow, which I can denote bar subscript C. CP bar represent the position vector of the ith particle with respect to center of mass. Now, if you differentiate this equation, both sides with respect to the time t, now dr bar subscript I dt, dr bar by dt with subscript I gives you the rate of change of position vector of the ith particle with respect to the origin O. That gives you the velocity of the ith particle with respect to the origin O of the inertial frame of reference. So drcm bar by dt gives you the velocity of center of mass of the system of the n particles with respect to the origin of the inertial frame of reference. So r bar subscript IC represents position vector of the ith particle with respect to center of mass of the system. So dr bar subscript IC d by dt gives you the velocity of the ith particle with respect to the center of mass of the system. So then you can write this way. So kinetic, we are going to use one result which we discussed earlier in the parallelogram law of addition vectors. If A bar and B bar are two vectors, then square of the magnitude of the vector sum or resultant of A bar and B bar can be written as square of magnitude of vector A bar plus square of the magnitude of vector B bar plus 2 into magnitude of vector A bar into magnitude of vector B bar into cos theta. This result we discussed earlier in the parallelogram law of addition vectors, which can also be written in this manner: A square plus B square plus 2A bar dot B bar. Of course, from definition of dot product of two vectors, A bar dot B bar can be written as mod of A bar into mod of B bar into cos theta. Would like to continue this calculation. The next slide. So, from concept of relative velocity also you can directly write this step. Otherwise, I mean, you can start writing proof directly with this step. For more clarity of discussion, I have started from basic concept. As you studied in relative motion, relative velocity of one body A with respect to other body B, written as vector difference of actual velocity of A and actual velocity of B. The same way, relative velocity of ith particle with respect to center of mass system of the particles, vector difference of actual velocity of the ith particle and actual velocity of the center of mass. V bar subscript I is actual velocity of the ith particle of mass mi. V bar subscript C is actual velocity of center of mass system. Means V bar subscript C is actual velocity of center of mass. Means velocity of center of mass with respect to the fixed origin O, or with respect to the inertial frame of reference. V bar subscript I is the actual velocity of the ith particle, means velocity of the ith particle with respect to origin of the inertial frame of reference. So actual velocity of the ith particle can be written as vector sum of velocity of the center of mass, I mean vector sum of actual velocity center of mass system of the n particles, and velocity vector of the ith particle with respect to center of mass. So if m subscript I represents the mass of the ith particle, then kinetic energy of the system, first kinetic energy of ith particle, you can write it as half mi into square of the magnitude of the velocity of the ith particle. I mean kinetic energy of that ith particle with respect to origin O of the inertial frame of reference. The kinetic energy of the ith particle with respect to origin O of the inertial frame of reference can write half mi into square of the magnitude of velocity of the ith particle with respect to origin O. Now velocity of ith particle with respect to the origin O can be written as V bar subscript C plus V bar subscript IC. That means I am substituting this, I am using this equation here. So as I discussed previously, that square of the magnitude of the vector sum of A bar and B bar, that is square of mod of A bar plus B bar can write A square plus B square plus 2A bar dot B bar. So using that concept, this term can be written as, so total kinetic energy of system of the particles with respect to origin O is equal to ordinary sum of the kinetic energies of all the particles of system. That is, you can write I equal to 1 to n. Sigma I varied from 1 to n, half mi vi square, v subscript I without bar symbol represent mod of vi bar. So total kinetic energy system of the particle with respect to origin O of the inertial frame is equal to sum of the kinetic energies of all the particles, all the n particle system. That means here I is equal to 1 for first particle, I equal to 2 for second particle. Sigma half mi vi square means we write it as half m1 v1 square plus half m2 v2 square plus half m3 v3 square, etc. up to half mn vn square. That's the meaning. So this you can write 1 by 2, the constant factor can be put outside the sigma symbol. Sigma I equal to 1 to n mi, as I told you, vi square, I mean square of magnitude of velocity of I can be written as square of magnitude of the vector sum of vc bar and v bar subscript IC. And this you can write as we can expand this here, mi into vc square plus v square subscript IC plus 2vc bar dot v bar subscript IC. Just as I have written earlier, square of magnitude of vector sum of A bar and B bar, that is square of mod of A bar plus B bar equal to A square plus B square plus 2 into A bar dot B bar, using that idea. Now we'll write each term separately here. Vc represent the magnitude of velocity center of mass with respect to origin of a coordinate system. So this you can write sigma mi vc square. The sigma mi vc square means m1 vc square plus m2 vc square plus m3 vc square and so on up to mn vc square. But vc square will be a common factor in all the terms. Therefore, we can put it outside the sigma symbol. Sigma mi into vc square plus half into sigma I equal to 1 half mi v subscript ic square. This of you not write again outside the sigma symbol. Okay. Then next you can write Vc bar dot V bar subscript IC. Vc bar velocity center of mass system of the particles can be treated as a constant for a given system of particles at a particular instant of time. So this in summation Vc bar can also be put outside. So if you open this bracket, then you can write Vc bar dot, because dot product of vectors is distributive with respect to addition, and dot product of vectors. So this you can write Vc bar dot V bar subscript IC. Means here that you can write sigma mi V bar subscript IC. Okay. Now sigma mi means sum of the mass of all the n particles of system. So sigma mi means sigma I equal to 1 to n. Sigma mi I varied from 1 to n means it is m1 plus m2 plus m3 etc. up to mn. Some of the mass of all the n particles of system, which we call total mass of system, can be denoted by capital M. Now V subscript IC gives you the magnitude of velocity of the ith particle with respect to the center of mass of system. So half mi VIC square gives you the kinetic energy of the ith particle with respect to the center of mass of the system. So sigma half mi VIC square. I mean sigma half mi VIC square, I varied from 1 to n, gives you sum of the kinetic energies of all the n particles of system with respect to the center of mass of the system. That gives you the total kinetic energy of the particles with respect to center of mass of system. Now, as I discussed in the past, in the earlier chapter, center of mass and conservation linear momentum, the vector sum of linear moment of all the particles of any system with respect to center of mass of system as origin will always be equal to a zero vector. Sigma mi V bar subscript, see V bar subscript IC represents the velocity of the ith particle. V bar subscript IC represents the velocity of the ith particle with respect to the center of mass of system of the n particles. So sigma mi V bar subscript IC gives you the, mi V bar subscript IC gives you the linear momentum vector of the ith particle with respect to the center of mass of system. So sigma mi V bar subscript IC, where I is varied from 1 to n, gives you the vector sum of the linear moment of all the particles of system with respect to center of mass system as origin. that will be always equal to 0 bar. So making all these substitutions here. So left hand side, that is the total kinetic energy of the particles. You can write half Kepler into Vc square plus KECM plus Vc bar dot 0 bar. So you have completed, we have completed the proof. Therefore, kinetic energy system of the n particles with respect to origin of the inertial frame of reference is equal to sum of the kinetic energies of all the particle system with respect to center of mass of system as the origin plus half Kepler VCM square. Kepler is the total mass system and VCM is the magnitude of translational velocity of center of mass of the system. Next, I am going to discuss the combined translational rotational motion of rigid body, and we are going to use this equation to write the equation for the total kinetic energy of rigid body, which may be performing both translational and rotational motions. A rigid body which is performing both translational and rotational motion can also be considered as a system of particles of which it is composed of. So again, see here, I have in this class I have just discussed the proof for kinetic energy theorem so far. So because I have observed one question given in the textbook for intended for board exams at the 11th standard for the proof of this kinetic energy theorem in exercise question. That's why I have discussed this theorem, but it's not a compulsory thing. You should remember the proof. So for the board exam, at least I think for the state board exam in Andhra Pradesh, the proof may not be required. So particularly for entrance examination, the proof is not required. So in case you feel that the proof is difficult or you are unable to understand this proof which I have just discussed, you can go through the proof again. You can take a pause and again go back and again go through the proof. Or otherwise you can skip this proof part also, take the result for granted. Okay. So because we are going to use this result in good number of examples in the combined translation rotational motion of the body. So let us consider rigid body of regular shape. For example, uniform solid sphere or uniform solid cylinder. I mean one of the regular objects. I don't mean all, we are not considering all the objects at once. Later we'll discuss all objects at once when we compare the in the comparison problems and rolling. So I consider one of the regular objects like uniform solid sphere. That means whatever discussion I am going to do at present, that will be applicable in the case of translational, combined translational rotational motion of a regular object of uniform mass density, where position of center of mass coincides the geometric center, and the body has a circular cross section. For example, uniform solid sphere or uniform solid cylinder or uniform circular disc or uniform hollow spherical shell. So one of these regular objects or thin uniform circular ring of mass, Kepler and radius r, which is performing both translational and rotational motions. Of course, normal language, which is rolling. That means it simultaneously performs when it rolls on a fixed surface. First, I consider the case where the body rolls on a fixed surface. So when it rolls, different particles of the rolling body move in circles, with center of all the circles lie on the axis of the cylinder, if it is a cylinder, or axis of rotation. Therefore, with respect to, let us for example consider uniform solid cylinder. Same description applies for any other regular objects I have mentioned. What we are showing in the figure is the cross section of the rolling object, in the vertical plane containing the center of mass of the rolling body. Okay. So the distance, the radial distance, I mean perpendicular distance or radial distance of any particle of the body from the horizontal axis passing through center of mass will be constant during the combined translational and rotational motions. So with respect to center of mass, I mean with respect to the horizontal axis passing through center of mass of the rolling body, each particle moves in a circle, performing circular motion. That means with respect to center of mass of the rolling body, you can say that different particles of the rolling body perform pure rotational motion. Therefore, the total kinetic energy of the system, I mean kinetic energy, total kinetic energy of all the particles of the rolling body, with respect to the center of mass of the rolling body as origin, is nothing but equal to the rotational kinetic energy. As I already discussed earlier, that if a rigid body performs pure rotational motion about a fixed axis, then its kinetic energy is given by half I omega square, where I is the moment of inertia of the rigid body and omega is the angular speed of rotation of the rigid body about that axis. So that means we are considering the motion of different particles of the rigid body with respect to the center of mass of the rolling body. So with respect to the horizontal axis, we can say different particles of the rolling body perform rotational motion about the horizontal axis passing through center of mass, because radial distance of any particle from the horizontal axis passing through center of mass will remain constant. So therefore each particle appears to move in a circular path with its center of circular path lying on the horizontal axis passing through center of mass with respect to center of mass of system. So total kinetic energy system of all the particles of the rolling body with respect to center of mass is nothing but equal to the rotational kinetic energy, which is given by half I omega square, or more precisely I write half ICM into omega square. Here ICM is the moment of inertia of the rolling body about the axis passing through its center of mass. That means ICM is the moment of inertia of the rolling body about the horizontal axis passing through center of mass of the rolling body, and the axis is parallel to the surface on which the body rolls. Okay. Then it can be shown that the combined translational and rotational motions of a rolling body can be considered as equivalent to pure rotational motion about the instantaneous axis passing through point of contact. So before that, I would like to discuss the relationship between the velocity of any particle with respect to center of mass and the actual velocity of the particle in the case of combined. So let us consider again the same object, solid cylinder rotating, I mean rolling on the horizontal surface. I would like to discuss the distinction between rolling with forward slipping, more precisely rotation with forward slipping, and rotation with backward slipping, and rolling. Rolling we normally mean, some textbooks specifically mention pure rolling. So when we say rolling, we usually mean pure rolling in the standard books. So let's see with the position of center of mass of the rolling body. We are showing in the cross section of the rolling body in the vertical plane. Let A be the bottommost point of the rolling object, which is in contact with the lower surface on which the body rolls. Let B the topmost point. So in general, if P is some point in the body, velocity velocity of the point P with respect to the center of mass can be written as, from the concept you studied in relative motion, is equal to actual velocity of the point P minus velocity of center of mass. V bar subscript P represents the actual velocity of the point P. Actual velocity of the point P means velocity of the point P with respect to laboratory frame of reference. V bar subscript C is the actual velocity of center of mass. Means velocity of center of mass with respect to the laboratory frame or with respect to stationary observer on the floor. V bar subscript PC is the velocity of the particle P with respect to center of mass. So actual velocity of any particle or point in the rolling body can be written as vector sum of velocity of the point P with respect to center of mass and velocity of center of mass. So in the present discussion, the velocity of center of mass is directed to the right side. Suppose the body is rolling towards right side. I mean, the center of mass of the body moves in a horizontal line or in a straight line path parallel to the surface on which it rolls. I choose the direction of linear motion of center of mass as positive direction of x-axis. Okay, so that velocity of center of mass in vector form, we can write V Cm into I bar. I bar is unit vector long x-axis. So with respect to center of mass, each particle moves in a circular path. So magnitude velocity of any point P with respect to the center of mass can be written as small r into omega. Small r is the radial distance of that particular particle. Means perpendicular distance or radial distance of that particular particle from the horizontal axis passing through center of mass. Because with respect to center of mass, different particles of the rolling body move in circles or with their centers on the axis of rotation. So now let us consider the bottommost point. With respect to center of mass, this bottommost point A is moving in a circular path of radius equal to Kepler. So velocity of the bottommost point A with respect to the center of mass can be written as, it is directed toward left side. That is the negative direction of x-axis. Minus r omega into I bar in vector form. And the velocity of the point, the highest point B, with respect to the center of mass, it is moving in a circular path of radius r. So magnitude velocity of B with respect to center of mass is r into omega. Magnitude velocity of bottommost point A with respect to center of mass also can write r omega. This is the r omega to the right side. That means I have shown the motion velocities of A and B with respect to center of mass. That means when you consider motion of any particle of the rolling body with respect to the center of mass, it can be considered equivalent to pure rotational motion. If the body performs pure translatory motion, then as I discussed earlier, when a body performs pure translatory motion, all the particles of the body will have same linear velocity at equidistance. So velocity of any point of the cylinder will be same as the velocity of center of mass when the cylinder, suppose, performs pure translatory motion. That means cylinder does not roll, does not rotate, just slips without rotating and without rolling. In that case, I mean, if it performs theoretically pure translatory motion, this will be situation. So actual velocity of any point of the body is equal to vector sum of velocity of the point with respect to center of mass in pure rotation plus velocity of center of mass. So if we combine the velocities in these two figures vectorially, then you get the actual velocities of different points. So actual velocity of the point A is vector sum of these two velocities. That is actual velocity of the point A, bottommost point A of the body in contact with the floor. Because velocity of the point A with respect to center of mass and velocity of center of mass. That is, you have to add these two velocities. Similarly, actual loss of the point B with respect to the state observed on the ground, vector sum of velocities in these two figures. That is, vector velocity of the point B with respect to center of mass plus velocity of center of mass. Velocity of the point B with respect to center of mass is R omega into I bar. Velocity center of mass is VCM is I bar. VCM is the magnitude of velocity center of mass. So this you can write VCM plus R omega into I bar. So actual loss of the bottommost point A in contact with the floor is equal to loss of the point A with respect to center of mass. So you can see this. It's equal to minus R omega into I bar plus velocity center of mass is VCM into I bar. So actual loss of the bottommost point A with respect to the ground or floor, VCM minus R omega into I bar. Suppose if you consider three possibilities, if actual velocity of center of mass, I mean translation velocity center of mass more than R omega, then VCM minus R omega will be positive. Then velocity of the bottommost point A, VA bar will be directed towards right. That means along positive direction of x-axis, because VCM minus R omega will be positive. Direction of VA bar in the direction of I bar along positive x-axis. Then the body is said to be rotating with forward slipping. The body is said to be rotating with forward slipping or rolling with forward slipping. Some books they write, but more appropriately you can say rotating with forward slipping. Then the friction that comes into contact between the rolling body and the floor will be the dynamic friction or sliding friction which acts backwards. Suppose if VCM is less than R omega in the same equation, that is magnitude of translation velocity center of mass with respect to the ground, less than R omega, that means less than the magnitude of the velocity of the point with respect to the center of mass. Then VCM minus R omega will be negative. If VCM minus R omega is negative, then velocity of the point A will be directed opposite to I bar. That means directed along. Then VA bar is directed or acts towards left or negative x-axis. That means then VA bar acts opposite to velocity center of mass. If VCM minus R omega is negative, then VA bar will be directed towards left side, opposite velocity center of mass in the backward direction. Then the body is said to be rotating. Don't write running notes. You will be shown the notes systematically in my next class. And the body is said to be rotating with the backward slipping or rolling with backward slipping. And there is slipping is backwards. Then the friction that acts on the body will be the dynamic friction which acts forward. So coming to the final conclusion, which is more important, magnitude of velocity of the center of mass, I mean magnitude of translation velocity center of mass with respect to the floor or with respect to lap frame equal to R omega. Then VA will be 0. That means the velocity of the bottommost point A of the body in contact with the floor will be 0 with respect to the floor or surface on which it rolls. That means then the body is said to be rolling with no slipping. So again you see here if VCM, this is the Equation for axial loss at the bottommost point of the rolling body, the rolling cylinder, which is in contact with the floor. We can write VCM minus R omega into I bar. VCM is the magnitude of translated velocity center of mass with respect to stationary observer on the ground or lap ring. R is the radius of the rolling body, omega the angular speed of rotation of the rolling body about the horizontal axis passing through its center of mass. So if VCM is more than R omega, then VA bar is directed in the direction of I bar along positive x-axis, because VCM minus R omega will be positive. Then VA bar is directed in the direction of VCM bar towards right, means in the direction of velocity center of mass. In that case, the body is said to be rotating with forward slipping or rolling with forward slipping. Then dynamic friction on the body acts backwards. If VCM is less than R omega, then this quantity VCM minus R omega will be negative. So negative quantity multiplied by I bar. That means VA bar will be directed opposite I bar. That means directed along negative x-axis. That means VA bar will be directed opposite VCM bar. And the body is said to be rotating with backward slipping. The body is rotating with backward slipping, dynamic friction on the body act towards right side. If VCM equal to R omega, that means the magnitude of the translated velocity of center of mass, same as the magnitude of the velocity of the point A with respect to center of mass. Then axial loss at the bottommost point A will be 0. That means there is neither forward slipping nor backward slipping. Then the body is said to be rolling with no slipping. The body is said to be rolling with no slipping, or pure rolling we call. So I will give you the notes for what I have already discussed in this class, in my next class, in a systematic way. Then those who want to write the notes, they can write the notes in my next class. So I will continue this discussion in my next class.